So if you came here to do a health informatics course and then you say, I want to do this content on OPT, that might not work. But to actually work and monetize it, you will need work authorization. Like you can't work without it. You will need to create an LLC or a company structure which will allow you an entity for which you can work. My thinking is keep it broad so that you have more avenues to fit your work, because your work can also evolve depending on what kind of opportunities you're going to get.
If I'm an international student on OPT working for XYZ company, can I also register my LLC on the side and then continue to monetize my content?
You can open a US company sitting outside of US as well. Sitting in India, you can open a company. For any kind of work where you're going to make money, unless it is passive income, if it is an active income source, you need work authorization.
Hi everyone, I'm Priya from It's OKR and welcome back to our channel. We get a lot of questions from aspiring content creators, whether you're on F1, OPT, H1B visa, on how to monetize your content. So today we have Sonal with us. She's an immigration lawyer and you've seen her plenty of time on It's OKR. I will leave the details in the description box, but she's going to help us decode this process a little bit. She's been helping a lot of creators kind of figure out the right way to monetize it, no matter what the visa category is. So we're going to spend a lot of time discussing the specifics so that you can leave this video with very, very actionable tips. Hi Sonal, welcome back. How are you?
Good, Priya, and you?
Good, can't complain. So, should we get into the topic of how so many aspiring creators, given the visa restrictions we have, are unable to kind of monetize our passion, if I would say, if that's the right way to put it a little bit, but hopefully you can kind of show us the legal way to make that happen?
Sure. So, well, it depends what visa you're currently in. Like, if you are in F1 status, then it's a little bit more challenging because you have to make sure that um, you're complying with all the regulations that are associated with your F1 visa, right? While you are studying, of course, you cannot monetize it because you're not
Absolutely.
here to monetize your content. You're here to study and you have to complete your course and all of that. Once you have completed the course and then you are in your OPT period, yes, you can do it because OPT is practically an open-ended EAD, right? You can work for yourself, you can open company, you can do, but again, while complying with the F1 requirements and compliance associated with that, what it means is that you can only work in the field of your education, right? So if you came here to do a health informatics course and then you say, I want to do this content on OPT, that might not work, right? Because that's not associated
So,
with your OPT and your degree. But if you're here like you did an MBA and then you're doing content creation on like how to use how on consulting and strategic management, educational content, of course, that makes perfect sense. So the most important thing is that if you're an OPT, it's not as complicated because you can work for yourself, you can create an entity, you can create a company and work for your own company as long as the work you are doing is directly related with your education that you were just completed in the US.
super helpful, but I want to take a step back and talk about in a situation, right? So I am an international student who came here on an F1 visa. I am now in the US. How can I monetize my content?
Okay. So once you have completed your course and you have the OPT, you can, while you are in F1 status, you can basically do the legwork. That's okay. The legwork means do the market research, the product, or like whatever you're trying to do. If you're practically thinking of being self-employed at this point, if you want to monetize your content, right? So you can do the legwork in terms of like what kind of business, what kind of content, market research. If you're thinking about a product, what kind of product you need, you can do the legwork. You can meet people, you can talk, you can get idea, you can network, you can do all of that. But to actually work and monetize it, you will need work authorization. Like you can't work without it because you want to earn money now. So you need work authorization. That work authorization can come through your OPT. So you will need to create an LLC or a company structure, which will allow you an entity for which you can work. And why it is important to create an entity, that will explain, because OPT is only 1 year, and you can do a part-time employment, you can do a full-time employment, you can do unpaid internships, you can do self-employment, a lot of flexibilities with OPT, which are not there for STEM OPT. But if you are eligible for STEM OPT, then you would like to continue doing what you're doing on OPT to do on STEM OPT as well. So you will have to think it from that perspective. While you are in OPT, how you're going to set it up so that you can continue doing your work and monetizing your content while on STEM OPT as well.
So help us understand, why is it beneficial for students on OPT to stop their clock and then figure out setting this up and monetizing their content? Can you shed a little more light on that?
Well, stopping you can only stop it for a limited period, right?
Correct.
It's not like forever. There is a period. You can apply for OPT this much time in advance of completing your course and this much after completing your course. So if you want to extend a little bit of time, you will use that period after completing to apply for your OPT so that you get that additional time. If you're applying beforehand, it will come to you by the end of like your course is over, and then your OPT period starts right after. And if you don't have a lined up job or you have not figured out what you want to do, then your unemployment clock is going to start at that point, right? Because you're not employed then. So that's what I said. While you're on F1 status, you do your legwork. You have everything set up in terms of what you need, everything. And then when you apply for the OPT, go get set up a LLC. By the time you have the OPT, you have the business set up and ready to go. And then you start working for your company. Now, if you're a content creator, very high chance that you're already creating content, right? You're not starting from scratch when you have the OPT. Then you're not going to be able to monetize it. So very high chance that you're already doing, but you're not monetizing it. You're doing it as a hobby. You have your channel and blah, blah, whatever. But now you can monetize it in the soul. Now you can do the brand partnerships you want to do and monetize it, right? Which you're doing right now, but as not getting any money for it. But you have the followership, you have where you will be able to monetize it. But once you have the company set up and you have the work authorization, now you're in a position where you will be able to take it to next step and do it as an employment through your own company.
So my question to you is it necessary for international students to register the business in the field that they have specialized in?
Well, it depends, right? Again, like if you are somebody in health informatics, you can't go and register a media company unless you can show how it helps, right? But if you are, say, an MBA, and MBA could be like technology, finance, media, consulting, strategy, operations, supply chain. You can think of like anything under MBA, right? Now, what do you want to do in your content creation? Like if you're just going to go with like, say, media, entertainment, advertising, this could all fall under one category, but then it's quite broad in terms of if you think. So if you're not sure, like again, what's your plan? You have to have a plan. What do you want to do? What kind of content you want to create? Because if you want to do educational content, then there might be a separate category of business and ACA and score that you would be looking at. If you want to keep it open, consulting services work best, right? And then you could do one-on-one consultations. You can do so. Like say you're making content, but you also do one-on-one consultations. But if you're just gonna keep it very narrow, you might not be able to do the consulting work then. But if you're doing the consulting, keeping it as a consulting company, then you could offer different kind of consultations, one-on-one or brand partnership, or educational content, or consultancy courses, or digital products. You could do all of that under consultancy, right? So you have to think it from that perspective. Again, you will have to work with somebody
Yeah,
who,
I remember.
work with you, understand, and then guide you and do. But my thinking is keep it broad so that you have more avenues
Sure.
to fit your work, because your work can also evolve depending on what kind of opportunities you're going to get from your content creation. So keep that in mind. And of course, it has to be related to your education, and how you justify what you're doing is related to your work.
So if I am, so just so that I fully understand, if I am on STEM OPT and I am a food content creator, then it can be a challenge because that has.
Well, maybe not. Like, again, if you're STEM OPT, I'll get into the STEM OPT, how this transitions into STEM OPT.
Okay.
STEM OPT is challenging, and then I'll talk about in question. So you have now for the company in OPT, right? But then it's going to get over in 12 months. How do you work for your own company in then you're in STEM OPT? Now, for STEM OPT, there are a couple of requirements that has to be there. One is it has to be a paid job. You cannot do a free internship, unpaid internship. The company has to be verified. So make sure your company that you have set up is e-verified, because if you want to employ yourself in your company, then it has to be verified. Number two. Number three, there has to be an employer-employee relationship, because you cannot execute your own I-983 plan, training plan. So STEM OPT is a training, right? And the company is providing you training. There has to be somebody else to execute that contract. You cannot sign that I'm going to give myself training.
Yeah, I see.
So there has to be somebody else. That's where the structure of the LLC come into picture. You could have a single member LLC that could work for OPT, but that will not work for STEM OPT, right? So now you're looking at either a partner, or you're looking at a structure of C Corp where there will be a board. You could still be owner of the company, but there still has to be a board where you can show an employer-employee relationship. You could be owner of the company, but you could also be employee of the company, and the board you can remain the owner of the company, but board can fire you from the job, even if the job is of a CEO, right? So, okay, now if you say, get your question, if you're a food blogger and blah, blah. Now, if you have done, depend on what education you have done. Okay, if you've done an MBA and you had courses, you could tie it up to your food blogging, then yes. But if you have, say, done courses, and if you've done your course in marketing.
If I've done a master's in IT, for example,
then food blogging will not work unless, again, this might be a stretch, but you have to see how it works out, right? Unless you're using your technical education to work for your company as a data analyst, which is going to figure out how the analytics work, how the algorithm work, and how your content, what you're creating is going to do better. And you are the one who is creating that algorithm for your content to work better. So is there a way you can connect it? Yes. But is it a stretch? Might be. But you have to see how it's going to. But again, you have to understand you cannot just go in a very different direction from your
the more education. Closely related, the better it is.
Yes,
no, that's fair.
Yes.
And we get this question all the time. So to wrap up this section, I think it is only fair to ask, if I'm an international student on OPT working for XYZ company, can I also register my LLC on the side and then continue to monetize my content?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So now I want to move on to H-1B, because that is another question that we keep getting. I am on H-1B visa in the US and I work for XYZ company. Can I register my LLC and start monetizing my content? What's the right way to do it?
Anybody can register a company in the US. Opening a company in the US is the easiest thing in the world to do. No matter which visa you are on, you can open a company. You can open a US company sitting outside of US as well. Sitting in India, you can open a company. The problem is not that. The problem is whether you can make money off that company. Yeah. The answer is yes, you can. If you have a concurrent H-1B filed through that company. Because you are an H-1B, you need work authorization. For any kind of work where you're going to make money, unless it is passive income, such as rental income or stocks or whatever, right? That's passive income. Unless it is that, if it is an active income source, you need work authorization. That an H-1B is tied to a specific employer. So yes, you can create a company, you can open a company, you can own a company. You cannot work for that company. Now, if you open a company and you hire people, somebody else who is running that company, and you have content creators who are creating content through that company, and you are making profit, yes, you can have that profit. It will go on your K1 as a business. But if you actively on the side want to create content and monetize it, yes, you can do it if you have an H-1B concurrently filed through that company and you're working for that company for that monetization.
Got it. And if you all don't know what concurrent H-1B visa is, we have a detailed video for that. We will link that. We also have a lot of content on passive income on H-1B and F-1 visa, and I will also link that in the description box. But this is super helpful. The next question, Sonal, that we get all the time is, can someone use their India bank account to monetize their content irrespective of their visa category?
Absolutely not.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. If you are here in US, no matter where you get money, if you are making money in a visa category where you're not supposed to make money, or if you do not have work authorization for that particular income source, then no, you pay. Absolutely.
And so, thank you. So, Sonal, you've shown paths to multiple content creators who've been trying to monetize their passion for a while. Now, my question is, how can these content creators protect their intellectual property? So, example, copyright, trademarks, etc. in the US.
Well, for that you have to actually talk to a IP lawyer who will be able to suggest. But no matter what visa you are in, you can file a patent, you can file a copyright, you can file a trademark. That's all there. You can do all of that no matter what visa category you are in. It's yours to protect, and you should take those actions. But again, you will have to work with an intellectual property lawyer. This is slightly away from immigration, but yeah, you can do it. Like people on F1 or H1B can file a patent. You can also file a trademark protection application or a copyright for yourself.
Absolutely. And I think my question, and I think it's a two-part question, which is, the reason I ask this is like, can doing this help them later in their immigration journey? Like, what kind of visas are available for content creators in the US? So if they trademark their content or have intellectual property around that, can that help them file for their own visa? So that's what I was trying to get to.
100%. The types of visa available for content creation in non-immigrant visa space is O1, specifically O1B, depending on what kind of content, what your following is. Basically, you have to show explainability criteria, right? But under O1B, it will fall under arts, and you could show that the reels you are creating, the content you're creating, the videos you are creating, whether it is YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, whatever, that could qualify as production. That could qualify, and you are the face. If you are the one who is doing all this, you could qualify as starring in those production events. Again, how you want to use it and whether you are in top of your field, and you can show it through your brand partnerships, right? If what kind of brands are in partnership with you, you can rely on that. You can rely on the views, you can rely on the clicks, you can rely on the shares your content is having. You can rely on the followers. You can rely on brand partnerships. So there is a lot of way to do it. The only thing is here is this: so far, for an O1, you need a consultation from an organization in the US, which basically says that you're not gonna be taking US jobs, that kind of consultation you need. But for content creators, there is no such organization. This was more recent. US, all the regulations and these visa categories are ancient. Um, but you can always, there are other ways to do that. You can always get a letter from another established media content creator who can vouch for your
Got
capabilities
it.
or all of that stuff. So, over definitely, and it's easy because you can do it through your own company, you can do it through agent, you can do it through employer. So the petitioner or definition for O1 is very flexible, and a lot of people will be able to do it through their own company as well.
Got it. And we have a very detailed video on O1 visa with actually Sonal that we will link. So definitely watch that out and it will clarify a lot of questions. But Sonal, to close this section, can you summarize the challenges and benefits of obtaining a US work visa for content creators?
Well, challenges again because there is no specific category, right? So you have to use whatever categories are available. Um, can H1B work? Of course, H1B can also work, right? If you are employed with an employer who is hiring you as a content creator, like marketing and all that, you could qualify
Yeah.
for an H1B. You can do it on F1. But again, you have to figure out which category works best for you. Now, if you are not from India and you are from a country where you could qualify for an E2 because you want to have your business here, that could be a possibility. But again, you have to see at what scale, what you are trying to do, what are your plans, and what works best for you among all the visas that are available. So E3s could work slightly for Australians, right? Could work. For Canadians, TNs might not work. You can't do that and that, like self-employment and all that stuff. O1 can work, E2s work. From immigrant perspective, EB1A can work, NIW can work. So we have to see what can work and what cannot work in terms of your profile and everything. Challenges, like for everybody, limited visa availabilities, and you have to fit yourself in. For O1s and media, if you want to go O1 route, the bar is high, right? Then H1B, the bar is high for O1. So those are the challenges. Benefits, um, a lot of opportunities are there. It is just that how you craft it. And O1 specifically can be used for media content creators more effectively than any other visa category, given the flexibilities available in O1 visa. No time limit. You can keep on renewing it. And if you have O1, that kind of is a stepping stone for you to explore EB1A. And eventually, in few years, if you do go viral and you do become top name industry, EB1 might be a very real possibility for you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sonal. And if you're a content creator who has questions, hopefully this 22 minutes will be a great use of your time and you will understand everything you need to know. Again, this is not legal advice. Please go and consult with an immigration lawyer so that they can better help understand your situation. We bring this content to you so that you have the information to ask the right questions to the immigration lawyer and kind of craft your story in the US. And if things aren't going your way, remember, it's OKR and they will eventually turn around. Thank you, Sonal, so much for joining us. And I'm sure we will be back creating more content, doing lives, etc. And we are so thankful for your support. Have a great day.